What is a weapon? In the dictionary, there are many definitions, but we all know that a weapon is a tool used to harm, while defending yourself, hunting, or as a deliberate attack. Weapons were a great help for the survival of the human species because they were used for hunting, so it made primitive man's living easier. Unfortunately, humans started to use these objects, weapons, not as a utility necessity to survival, but as some objects through which they could express their hatred and selfishness, behaviors created by the environment. Humanized weapons are objects that have a different utility, but may become or have become weapons. We're talking about knives, blades, hands, absolutely anything that can be used as a weapon. They're called humanized because only humans can transform them into weapons. Those objects wouldn't become weapons if society was based on intelligence and focused on education, which is not the case in the current system. Weapons, objects, machinery specifically designed to hurt. Weapons are mainly focused on hurting human beings and not enough on hunting. Hunting is now an activity done for pleasure, a hobby, a form of entertainment. Hunting isn't even necessary anymore because of the need for hunting is long gone. Some are used strictly to hurt other human beings. Guns, swords, bombs, rocket launchers, fighter planes, tanks, cannons, and other sophisticated weapons are focused on attacking other humans. People in charge of weapons business have invented a new term, self-defense weapons. But they forgot that for self-defense weapons to exist, they need the other ones, pure weapons. In fact, they are all weapons. The only difference is how they are used. Instead of eliminating those weapons, they invented others for self-defense. People have had the nerve to create national arms, weapons of mass destruction. These are weapons designed for countries to be used during potential conflict, and they continue to invest massively in the development of these objects, machines. How can you create such weapons when we share the same planet?
Today, America has 300 submarines. Each one, not according to me, according to the War Department, has more destructive power than all the wars in history. One submarine. Now, where can you go with that? What can you accomplish? But there's a place for particular senators and government officials. They built a place under a mountain for them to go to in case of nuclear war. Well, there's 6 months' supply of food, water, all the necessities of life. What do you come out to? You ever think of that? Burnt out, radioactive wasted area? How stupid can you be?
All laws come into existence because of scarcity. When there's scarcity of water, people will steal it, remove it, if not for themselves, for their children. So, all the laws in the world, but if you don't want people to steal water, you build an electric fence around the water. See? And this is the way you say, you don't need to put up a sign, don't steal water. But those people will die. So we don't want to do that. We don't want to build a fence around our country, say, this is the greatest country in the world, we're going to keep it that way. We depend on other countries. If we live to ourselves, I can assure you, we'll die of ourselves. Because if the Russians do nuclear testing and they dump radioactive stuff into the sea, or the Japanese, the world is one big place and the air moves around and the waters move. Therefore, living to yourself, your little isolated colony, your little culture that you want to build, your little city that you want to build of people with like-mindedness, all of that has no basis for survival.
Now, as a normal person, you'll wonder what they are thinking and where could this lead. It's easy to solve the mystery of continued weapons development. We live in a monetary system that relies on consumers to function and on profit to evolve. How is the weapon business the most profitable business? It is normal for this industry to prosper, even though it represents a disgrace to the human species and is also a danger, possibly the greatest, because of the conflicting vested interests of countries and companies causing this conflict. An intelligence system could take back any weapon, and it would invent some strictly to protect the human race in case of alien invasion, although, if such a war would occur, we would have no chance because the attacking alien species should have much more advanced technology since they've succeeded in traveling to our planet. It was just an idea to keep the weapon concept.
Do you think we can get rid of these nuclear arsenals, and how do we go about doing it?
Well, you got to ask what they're for.
When man is educated and has access to abundance, food, comfort, technology, without the need for obedience, which is possible, then he would not need weapons, and the humanized weapons would not have reasons to be animated because there is no reason to attack anyone. Instead of producing these weapons that have filled the planet in mass quantity causing extensive damage, it would be better to produce technology, machines that can save man from any work, from the desire to steal to commit murders. Instead of creating weapons of mass destruction, you can create weapons of mass creation. Wars represent people playing with guns on a massive scale. Ask yourself, when two or more countries are at war, who took this decision to kill each other? Did you vote for that? After all the countries are some imaginary delimitations. If I'm in one of these countries and I'm in danger, who's to blame? Who decides to declare war on a country? Do they understand what a country is? Who are those individuals that take action on behalf of everyone? And more importantly, what are they solving through this brutal act? There have been many wars over time. What was the result of these wars besides suffering and dead people? Ask yourself, what is the purpose of war, and why do we struggle to prevent them?
War is a word which was invented when one territorial group of people took away other people's land. They used force and violence, and war was the media for doing that. You shot other people, stole their women and their resources for your own gain. And nations have been at war ever since man invented weapons. And as long as you invent weapons, you can have war. And war is the means of protecting everything you've stolen from others. No nation starts out very big. They start out smaller and take land away from other people. And they don't take it by invitation. They weren't invited to take over the land. They took it by killing, force, and violence. And war is the most inappropriate way of solving the differences. That's why I'm against the Pentagon and the military, because they majorly should be concerned with how to bridge the difference and bring nations together toward a common purpose, namely taking care of the environment, one another, and restoring the damaged environment. That's what I'd like to see in military systems. I would like to see, instead of training millions of soldiers to be killing machines, I'd rather train them in being problem solvers. Send them back to school, teach them social science, social psychology, sociology, so they can add to the culture, not be destructive.
Again, Think of how different life would be if soldiers were taught to resolve social differences instead of how to kill. Personally, I would prefer to work so that soldiers can have all the comfort they need for free in order for them to help solve problems, to become problem solvers instead of creators. Who wouldn't wish that? Instead of a brutal intervention, beastly and with many deaths that ultimately doesn't solve anything, to have some extremely knowledgeable people part of an intervention that can alleviate and solve problems. Wars represent the ultimate failure of humans, where they cannot deal with the problems at hand, or they don't want to.
And I tried hard to be proud of my service, but all I could feel was shame. And racism could no longer mask the reality of the occupation. These were people, these were human beings. I've since been plagued by guilt anytime I see an elderly man, like the one who couldn't walk, who we rolled onto a stretcher and told the Iraqi police to take him away. I feel guilt anytime I see a mother with her children, like the one who cried hysterically and screamed that we are worse than Saddam as we forced her from her home. I feel guilt anytime I see a young girl, like the one I grabbed by the arm and dragged into the street. We were told we were fighting terrorists. The real terrorist was me, and the real terrorism is this occupation. Racism within the military has long been an important tool to justify the destruction and occupation of another country. It has long been used to justify the killing, subjugation, and torture of another people. Racism is a vital weapon employed by this government. It is a more important weapon than a rifle, a tank, a bomber, or a battleship. It is more destructive than an artillery shell, or a bunker buster, or a Tomahawk missile. While those weapons are created and owned by this government, they are harmless without people willing to use them. Those who send us to war do not have to pull a trigger or lob a mortar round. They do not have to fight the war, they merely have to sell the war. They need a public who is willing to send their soldiers into harm's way. They need soldiers who are willing to kill and be killed without question. They can spend millions on a single bomb, but that bomb only becomes a weapon when the ranks of the military are willing to follow orders to use it. They can send every last soldier anywhere on earth, but there will only be a war if soldiers are willing to fight. And the ruling class, the billionaires who profit from human suffering, care only about expanding their wealth, controlling the world economy. Understand that their power lies only in their ability to convince us that war, oppression, and exploitation is in our interest. They understand that their wealth is dependent on their ability to convince the working class to die to control the market of another country. And convincing us to kill and die is based on their ability to make us think that we are somehow superior. Soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen have nothing to gain from this occupation. The vast majority of people living in the U.S. have nothing to gain from this occupation. In fact, not only do we have nothing to gain, but we suffer more because of it. We lose limbs, endure trauma, and give our lives. Our families have to watch flag-draped coffins lowered into the earth. Millions in this country without health care, jobs, or access to education must watch this government squander over $450 million a day on this occupation. Poor and working people in this country are sent to kill poor and working people in another country to make the rich richer. And without racism, soldiers would realize that they have more in common with the Iraqi people than they do with the billionaires who send us to war. I threw families onto the street in Iraq, only to come home and find families thrown onto the street in this country, in this tragic and unnecessary foreclosure crisis. We need to wake up and realize that our real enemies are not in some distant land. They're not people whose names we don't know and cultures we don't understand. The enemy is people we know very well and people we can identify. The enemy is a system that wages war when it's profitable. The enemy is the CEOs who lay us off from our jobs when it's profitable. It's the insurance companies who deny us health care when it's profitable. It's the banks who take away our homes when it's profitable. Our enemy is not 5,000 miles away. They are right here at home. If we organize and fight with our sisters and brothers, we can stop this war, we can stop this government, and we can create a better world.
The killing of Osama bin Laden is a failure to me, because the negative retroaction of that will be enormous. The amount of hatred and people that will die as a result of that. So the killing of one man never destroys a value system. It destroys that person. But the value system goes on. Racism, bigotry, stupidity are part of the problem. Stupidity means lack of information regarding certain types of problems. Now, if you start killing people, you'll always have people you want to kill.
Police, they are the ones that keep our society under control. These human beings are following some laws, and they make you follow those laws too, without giving any explanation or asking themselves why are they doing this. Because, 1. Cops are directly in touch with the monetary system's citizens. 2. The language used is old and interpretable. 3. A policeman's status makes him behave violently, even if he doesn't want to. We have shown in the prison experiment what such a job can make you do. 4. Laws are fixed for an unequal society. 5. Citizens are obedient in front of authority. 6. The policeman represents a trade, and we saw that the job is just a form of slavery dressed in bright colors. Practically, this job negatively affects everyone in a chaotic rhythm. The policeman may behave violently, he may misinterpret what you say. Today, if you are over 30 years and talk to a 12-year-old girl, you must be careful what you say because you may be misinterpreted and accused of pedophilia. And many people tend to be obedient to the authorities. With such an interpretable language, this system can't be beneficial even if the laws would be useful and accurate, which is not the case. Not to mention the corruption that is a direct result of the monetary system because money is made more important than anything else. If it is accepted that justice makes things right through punishment, why do situations like this still occur?
It's April 17, 2005. At police headquarters in Providence, Rhode Island, 26-year-old Esteban Carpio is being questioned about the murder of an elderly woman. Suddenly, Carpio grabs Detective Jim Allen's gun and shoots him at point-blank range in the face. As Allen lays dying, Carpio leaps from a third-floor window and attempts to escape. He is captured only a few blocks from police headquarters, and when he appears at his arraignment, the extent of his injuries stuns the courtroom.
I was horrified when I saw this kid walk into the courtroom. I mean, I've seen those masks used before to keep people from spitting or biting the officers that are guarding them, but this wasn't for that.
That's not the norm. You never see people come in with the mask. It's very rare.
Whatever he might have done, whatever he was charged with, whatever the accusation, the mask is dehumanizing. It makes him look like an animal.
I mean, that looks to me almost like brain damage time. You know, with the way the forehead is so swollen, eyes are like covered in wax almost. But it's really just his skin. This kid took quite a beating.
If you look at a before picture and an after, you can't recognize him, and it's no wonder his family reacts the way they do.
And it was very obvious that the reason why I was wearing that is because the cops decided to take justice into their own hands before he ever entered the courtroom.
Police brutality! An investigation conducted by the FBI cleared police of any wrongdoing.
The fact is, if you're a judge to be a bad enough person, law enforcement has great latitude as to what sort of summary punishment they're going to inflict upon you.
In October 2006, Carpio showed up in court again, this time without the mask. He was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole.
And do not forget that increasingly more private companies employ people as personal police or private security to protect personal rights, laws of that company.
Okay, just one more time. In central London, we're outside the Shell headquarters, the British headquarters of Shell. And even before I started filming, the private security were very adamant that no filming would be allowed. So it's just one more example of a man standing on very public property with a camera, just being told what to do. And it's just that it starts to grate me, but they're only following orders. But what orders are they following?
Filming the building. I've advised him not to, and he's carried on filming.
Thing is, we're in a public area.
I don't give a shit, mate. You're not allowed, yeah? I advise you, you're not allowed to film the thing.
Did you just swear at me?
You just stood there and said, you just stood there. When I told you, you're not allowed, yeah?
Yeah.
You just stood there and said, I'm doing it. I don't give a damn, I'm doing it, yeah?
No, I didn't say I don't give a damn, did I?
No, what do you... Well, you got it yourself, you film it, yeah?
Yeah, the thing is, though, I'm a public area.
Well, stand there and
Are you a policeman yourself, sir?
If I was a policeman, I would have arrested you. I'm a policeman.
You would have arrested me?
Yeah, if I was...
Under what charge? What would you have arrested me under?
Just stand there for me. Just stand there.
You've asked me to stay here. I'm not going to obey you. Ay. I'm sure you all know this, but Shell is a big oil company, of course. And this is a public area, this is a public sidewalk. We're here by the, what's this thing called? The big wheel, the London Eye. And if you want to film the outside of a building in a public area in London, you're allowed to do so. You're fully allowed to do so. And my dad used to work for Shell. Not that that's relevant to anything, but what's also relevant is that even before I took my camera out, he was trying to tell me what to do. Anyway, that's one of those new Mayor of London bikes, sponsored by Barclays, of course. You can't have a nice bike scheme without it being sponsored by a big bank. Where's the policeman? Oh, maybe you're allowed to film in a public area. Maybe you're not allowed to tell me what to do.
Go away with your sarcastic remarks.
Maybe you're not allowed to tell me what to do.
I'm not interested in your sarcastic
You think
remarks.
you get a fluorescent jacket and a little radio and you can actually tell normal people what to do?
Stand there.
Dude, this is a public area. I'm in a public area.
Why are you pointing the camera at me for?
Because you told me not to, and you've got no right to tell me what to do, have you? Have you? Come on, admit it. You've got no right to tell anyone what to do. Hi, sir, how are you? You do not have the right to tell normal people walking past what to film, do you? Hiya, how's it going? No, but he was shouting at me. I was across the street. I've been walking around London all... Anyway, I'm filming for my protection, for evidence. Walking around, my dad used to work for Shell. My dad's a harbour pilot. He used to park ships for Shell in Japan. I got my camera out to go, oh look, Shell headquarters. This man, you, started telling me what to do. I am a normal human being in a public area. I can film any building I want. And he threatened me with police. Do you realize how annoying it is to be told what to do by someone, a little jumped up security officer in a fluorescent jacket? Hey, he was abusive to me. He was abusive to me. He swore at me twice. I've got it on video. So, like, but the thing is, he threatened me with arrest. Sorry? Do you want to show me that? No, because it's like 10 minutes ago. But he threatened me with arrest. Anyway, this is all going to go on YouTube, because I have a YouTube channel. And it's all about, but the thing is though, maybe you should retrain your staff not to shout at people across the street telling them what to do.
But why are you shouting at me?
No, I do...
Raise my voice. Why are you shouting
Okay,
at me?
I apologise. I am actually quite worked up. Yeah, I'm worked up. I'm not shouting at you.
Do you realise why
Yeah.
he came over and asked you?
He didn't come over and ask me. He came over and told me that you're not allowed to film this building. And I'm one of these human beings that when I'm told what I'm not allowed to do, of course I'll do it when I know I'm not breaking the law.
Let's turn off the I'll explain to you the reason. If you want to turn that off, I'll explain to you the reason.
We're in a public area. Like, if you want to explain it to me officially. No? Why not? Why not? One of your staff, who you're defending, has just told me I'm not allowed to do something. Oh, am I allowed to do it now? Oh, am I allowed to film the building now? Oh, are you going to still tell me what to do? You jumped up little security guard trying to tell human beings what to do in a public area. Well, at least my salary isn't paid by an oil company. Anyway, good day to all of you.
It's sad to think that people, policemen, really want to do justice to help people, but unfortunately they never think about what laws actually are. Why should police enforce them, or who gives them orders? People want to do things right, but they are misdirected. Weapons, army and policemen maintain an established society. So how can they work for people? Weapons, army and policemen maintain an established society. So, this is against progress and evolution. As there are no bad people with bad intentions, but only a harmful environment that pushes people towards such behavior. These organizations no longer have any purpose in an environment that caters for everyone. Some people and organizations that want to make so-called justice should promote a system that advocates equality between people, a system based on planetary resources, a system where goods and services are abundant, a system based on proper education and free access to any information, because in such a system, justice is its foundation. In order to achieve these goals, such an organization must be armed with the ability to solve problems. So, there would be no need for weapons. A society based on planetary resources, where goods and services are abundant, leads directly to a more free and equal society. There would be no need for police, army, or weapons in such a society. In a society of educated people with no reason to commit any crime, for what we would need the police? Who would join an army? Who would animate the weapons? So, the solutions would be proper education and abundance, leading to weapons, army or police, being unnecessary. But such a society is not compatible with the monetary system.
To the extent that we raise our children with artificial values, that will produce harm in the future. You think, well, they're only children. I don't think it's that necessary. Well, war, guns, possession of guns are partly nurtured by our culture. And guns give people a sense of power, a false sense of power. Real sense of power is delivery of information that's relevant to people. Well, of course, you don't sense it right away. You don't feel a glorious feeling doing that. But really, it's a long-term investment. And all short-term investments may appear to solve problems, but they only perpetuate problems into the future.
With so many scientific discoveries, it's amazing that people still do not realize that they are all from the same species and that they all live on the same planet. Remembering the vast universe and what is a human being, it's sad that it takes a conflict within this species, the only one capable from what we know so far, to understand the universe. This conflict can be understood today through environmental influence, the way people learn through imitation, obedience to authority, etc. Study after study showing this should help in resolving these conflicts, but they don't. What is a weapon? In the dictionary, there are many definitions, but we all know that a weapon is a tool used to harm, while defending yourself, hunting, or as a deliberate attack. Weapons were a great help for the survival of the human species because they were used for hunting, so it made primitive man's living easier. Unfortunately, humans started to use these objects, weapons, not as a utility necessity to survival, but as some objects through which they could machinery specifically designed to hurt. Weapons are mainly focused on hurting human beings and not enough on hunting. Hunting is now an activity done for pleasure, a hobby, a form of entertainment. Hunting isn't even necessary anymore because of the need for hunting is long gone. Some are used strictly to hurt other human beings. Guns, swords, bombs, rocket launchers, fighter planes, tanks, cannons, and other sophisticated weapons are focused on attacking other humans. People in charge of weapons business have invented a new term, self-defense weapons. But they forgot that for self-defense weapons to exist, they need the other ones, pure weapons. In fact, they are all weapons. The only difference is how they are used. Instead of eliminating those weapons, they invented others for self-defense. People have had the nerve to create national arms, weapons of mass destruction. These are weapons designed for countries to be used during potential conflict, and they continue to invest massively in the development of these objects, machines. How can you create such weapons when we share the same planet?
Today, America has 300 submarines. Each one, not according to me, according to the War Department, has more destructive power than all the wars in history. One submarine. Now, where can you go with that? What can you accomplish? But there's a place for particular senators and government officials. They built a place under a mountain for them to go to in case of nuclear war. Well, there's 6 months' supply of food, water, all the necessities of life. What do you come out to? Ever think of that? Burnt out, radioactive waste area? How stupid can you be?
All laws come into existence because of scarcity. When there's scarcity of water, people will steal it, remove it, if not for themselves, for their children. So all the laws
express their hatred and selfishness, behaviors created by the environment. Humanized weapons are objects that have a different utility, but may become or have become weapons. We're talking about knives, blades, hands, absolutely anything that can be used as a weapon. They're called humanized because only humans can transform them into weapons. Those objects wouldn't become weapons if society was based on intelligence and focused on education, which is not the case in the current system. Weapons, objects, machines.